Why does the standard of basic education differ from province to province? To what extent does lack of basic school infrastructure affect the provision of quality education? How does the inadequate supply of reliable water and sanitation impact the rights of learners? Is the Basic Education Department failing to address the shortage of teachers in the Eastern Cape? What time is it? It is question time. Welcome to Question Time. My name is Limpopo. The provision of learners with the minimum standards of safe and adequate basic school infrastructure has become a cause for concern to a number of stakeholders. There have been a number of reports about schools where learners still learn under trees, a lack of adequate water and sanitation, as well as imbalance in the teacher-learner ratio. Most of these challenges are said to be prevalent in Limpopo, Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal, which were ironically the poor performers during last year's matric examinations. Meanwhile, the Eastern Cape Education Department has been in the news after it emerged that it had returned 530 million rand of its infrastructure grant to National Treasury. This while the province continues to grapple with a number of educational challenges. We are live. Therefore, you can call us. The number to dial, 089-110-4210, 089-110-4210. Our Twitter handle, @QuestionTime24. My guest, Nombulelo Nyatela, Equal Education spokesperson. Elijah Mhlanga is the spokesperson for the Department of Basic Education. Let me welcome you both. Let's talk about the report first. What is the report saying?
So, first of all, this is the year that the norms and standards for school infrastructure, the first time frame, lapses in November, on the 29th of November 2016. And basically our biggest concerns are that we might not meet that time frame. And in fact, the Minister of Finance said himself in his budget speech that, you know, they will probably only meet those time frames in 2018. That is 2 years later than the scheduled time. So obviously we're concerned that we're not meeting the time frames. We're concerned that schools are still in inadequate infrastructures. And we're concerned that, you know, we're not making any progress quick enough, at least.
Elijah, according to the latest available statistics from your department, published in the 2015 National Education Infrastructure Management Report, 818 schools in Limpopo do not have a reliable supply of electricity. 335 do not have reliable water supply. And learners at over 2,500 schools still use pit latrines, which are the same toilets which they say the 6-year-old boy died the other time in 2014 there in Limpopo. This is bad.
It is bad, and in fact we did the research and established that situation because for us to be able to solve the problem we need to know the extent of the challenge. And we've done that. But having said that, you need to remember that the Department of Water Affairs is responsible for water supply. We rely on them. We give them our plans. We give them our priorities. They assist us with that, as well as the municipalities, as an ESCOM. They're responsible for electrical supply. We rely on them. We give them our priorities, and they work in terms of what we are giving them. And we trust that, knowing that schools are priority, they work with us. In terms of pit latrines, the country is unequal. There are still communities where pit latrines are a reality. And if a school is located in that particular community, unfortunately that reality is extended to the school as well. But it doesn't mean that we find that acceptable. It's not acceptable. It's the situation that must change. And we believe that the Minister of Finance as well acknowledges that there are challenges. That's why the budget for education has been increased again.
Well, I think, I'm sure a lot of people would agree with you, and I mean, I think what you're saying makes sense in instances where indeed there's nothing that the department can do. Surely nothing can be done. But in a scenario where you have the Department of Education returning R500 million in infrastructure grant, then there's a problem. There's a bigger one there.
Well, firstly, we need to understand that the provinces have two income streams, or well, there are two streams of funding. The first one is the equitable share, where they are given their money to conduct their business. The other one is the conditional grant. And the money that you're talking about is the conditional grant, which is given to provinces to supplement what they already have. So it doesn't mean that the infrastructure budget was taken away. It means the money that they had been allocated to use for school infrastructure, in addition to what they already had, has been returned, a portion of it, because it was over R1 billion, and 530 million of that was taken back. And even that was taken on the basis of an analysis which was made by the Department of Basic Education that Eastern Cape wasn't going to be able to spend that money within this financial year, which ends in the next 2 weeks. Yet, Western Cape, Limpopo, and Gauteng were going to overspend. So what do you do in that situation? You take the money where spending is happening and save yourself the embarrassment of sitting with R1 billion which is not being used.
I'm going to ask that we get this tweet on our screen, actually. It's from one of our viewers. She says, I have no words for Eastern Cape government. This is a school in PSG, I don't know where that is. After 20 years of democracy, actually it's more than that. And then you get money returned. I understand what you're saying, but I don't think it justifies why money should go back when you have a school like that.
The problem is not money. The money was there, R1 billion, on top of what the province already had. But there wasn't capacity to spend that money. That's what we are saying. There was a challenge in the Eastern Cape. The province has been unstable for a very long time now. You have had acting HODs, you had an absence of a chief financial officer, there wasn't a financial manager. So the people who were tasked with making long-term big decisions in that department were not available. So who was expected to make that type of decision? It was on that basis that the department was not able to spend that money, among other things.
Ernest, you are in the Eastern Cape. Welcome.
Hey, hello, sir. Yeah, I'm calling here in Flagstaff in the Eastern Cape.
Oh yes, Flagstaff.
Yes, I'm very surprised about the Eastern Cape Department of Education, which is bringing back or failed to use the money to the schools which are very disadvantaged. I'm in a school whereby learners not have enough space for learning, no furniture, no toilets. If the school is breaking into half, one half is on the other side of the river and one side is on the other side of the river. We have been putting more, we have been asking the department to combine the school to be in one place, but they didn't do that. You see? And we have been invited by the portfolio committee during the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
They promised us they are going to build the school. And in the classes, the crowd is there. Grade 3, for example, now in grade 3 we have 93 learners with one educator. And no space, you see, we are very overcrowded since 2013.
Okay. Ernest, thank you very much for the time. Elijah, would you agree that Eastern Cape is in a crisis mode?
Yes, it is. That's why we have been there in the past 3 weeks twice already. Some officials are still there. The officials will be working from there on a weekly basis to make sure that we work on a systematic plan to say what is it that we can achieve immediately, what is it that we can achieve on a medium term to long term. Because the Eastern Cape needs to be supported. But let's also talk about the schools. The reality is that Eastern Cape still has mud schools, but not all of the mud schools are going to be replaced. What he's saying there is correct. There's over 2,000 schools in the Eastern Cape that are way too small to be kept open because they're not feasible economically to remain open. So a decision has been taken to close them, merge some, but that also is a process involving members of the community.
Let me allow you to just come in there.
We actually have to explain the question of the budgets and the money, because a lot of it is hidden in paperwork and people may get confused thinking either there isn't money or there's too much money but no one is spending it. There was a budget established in 2011 called ACD, and that was the budget that was meant to sort of quickly eradicate mud schools. So this budget firstly was underspending and secondly underperforming and wasn't building enough schools, as many schools as it should have been. So this budget is now going to be merged with another grant called the Education infrastructure grant, which has been increased, but the truth is that the money is being sort of shifted from a CD into that, into that grant, and it looks like there's more money, but there actually isn't that much money more added to this grant. Okay. So the problem is that, all this money is there, but actually the government should be focusing on planning work, implementation work, and these grants that sort of look at provinces that sort of implement are also a problem, because provinces like the Eastern Cape do underperform, don't have capacity, don't have great administration. But if you're looking at the Western Cape, for example, that does so well, they get more of the EIG grant because they have better administration, and that's absolutely unfair, because obviously Eastern Cape needs that money more.
Batseba in the Northwest.
Hello, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yes, I'm from the Northwest Province, and as you can see, we are doing very well with our matric results. So the problem is, I think our leaders, I know that our leaders are messing up our society, because
who are your leaders?
Our leaders in government, and ourselves for allowing them.
Give us names,
Batseba. Ourselves as leaders, because thing is, in our province, we are doing very well. And then there are three pillars of a very functioning society, a thriving society. It is education, infrastructure, and health. And right now in our province, all those departments are under administration. So I can also predict that even next year, we can see our Northwest results going down. So now, the thing of funds returning, it is also a political matter, because we have people who are scrambling for these departments that have a huge budget because of the role that they play in society. Okay. So now, we are faced with that challenge that people are trying to collapse our society because of their greediness, and we are allowing that to happen. And as an educated somebody, as a graduate, I'm a graduate, so I believe I'm an educated somebody. I can see that this whole thing of allowing our leaders to just collapse our society has to stop, and it is going to stop. And we as young people are going to.
Who are your leaders?
Our leaders are the people that we vote in. Our leaders are those people who are in charge of these unions that are struggling, that are scrambling for the money that is allocated to our children. Because the situation
I'm sure
is
you've got names, but
the situation. No. I don't have. Okay, if I'm forced to take up names, then I'll say the Minister of Basic Education, because she's the one who is the head of such a department. Minister of Basic Education, Minister of Higher Education, and the President as the person who appoints those ministers, and we ourselves as the people allowing them, because as we have that power, power to the people, and we are allowing that to happen. So I'm saying that the ultimate blame comes down to us, because we are allowing such things to happen.
Okay,
so I'm saying such things are going to stop.
All right, thank you. Fortunately, the spokesperson of the minister is here. He will respond only after the break. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we're taking your calls, 089-110-4210, 089-110-4210. This is Question Time.
Tonight in an SABC exclusive news expose, we show you how firearm proficiency certificates are fraudulently sold for a few thousand rand.
What you did was illegal. Do you at least acknowledge that? What you did is illegal.
I say it could be probably illegal.
Nigeria is Africa's second largest tomato producer.
The chief executive of Enrisco says he started the company with a capital of $75 million.
The problem now is that the market has been created in China.
He says that doing business in the country is becoming more difficult every day.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. My guest, Nombulelo Nyathela, Equal Education spokesperson. Elijah Mhlanga speaks on behalf of the Department of Basic Education. Francois in the Eastern Cape, welcome.
I'm Paul.
How are you?
How are you doing?
I'm well. Thanks for the question.
Very well, very well.
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
My dear friend, it's so sad to watch TV and you see in what condition our schools are. Overcrowded classes. Everything seems to be in disarray. Let's look at how to solve problems. Let's look at solutions. Yes. One of those. Why don't the government appoint inspector of schools, period?
Yeah,
in each and every province, they appoint these on a proportional basis. They should go out, work and see. They first have to make an assessment as to how many schools is in that province, and then report back to government. You know, a report which they would table, which should be acted upon, and if there are money, funds, required, let there be funds made available so that things should actually, be sped up in that way. Okay. It seems as if the government is not aware as to what is happening where. That is where the problem lies.
But they've done research. They know where the problems are.
They know?
Yes.
They seem to me there are too many schools.
Well,
and funds are there. Why should funds also be returned? And, funds would not actually be appropriated. That is one of those problems, because there's no one actually who's taking the responsibility to do what is right. And that's why the schools are like that.
Okay, Francois, thank you very much. Elijah, let's talk about, like Francois said, the solutions. When is the situation, let's start with the Eastern Cape. When is the situation in the Eastern Cape going to improve?
That's a difficult question. I mean, we'd like the situation to have improved by last year already. Every year that we work and look at that situation in the Eastern Cape, we hope for it to improve. The minister has said that she wants to spend more time there to try assist the province. And remember that the structure of our constitution is such that the minister can only monitor and support the province, because the MEC is accountable to the premier there. And the premier has also been making efforts to try support that particular Department of Education in the Eastern Cape. So we have to work collaboratively, respecting the structure of our constitution, because if things were different, perhaps the outcome would be different. But right now we need to work with what we have, monitor, support, suggest solutions, invite partners to come help solve the problems. Nombulelo spoke earlier about not enough schools being built at the right pace. Yes, it's true, but you also had a situation where big companies were appointed to build schools and collapsed in the process of building, and we appointed smaller companies. They happen to be building good quality schools. The pace might not be satisfactory, but we also need to understand the terrain in which we work. But progress is being made. I mean, we have over 135 schools now that have been built, and yet those that are still in mud schools are crying out for help. They need a good, conducive environment as well for learning and teaching. Okay. And we commit to bringing that to them.
Showman, you are in the Eastern Cape.
Yes, sir. I'm calling from the Eastern Cape. The problem here.
Yes.
I concur with the lady who said the leaders. Because the minister, Angie, some years ago, he came here to apply Section 100B. There was never an improvement. And again, there is an issue of LTS and the issue that affected Limpopo in the previous years. Here in the Eastern Cape as well, there were no textbooks that were delivered in some schools. There is an IT equipment that was ordered. It was never delivered into schools. And there is this shortage of teachers.
But why didn't you make noise about it, that there are no textbooks?
No, there's no noise that is being made by the communities. Recently, some communities were tear-gassed when they were protesting about these issues.
Okay.
So the department should have
in fact, the National Department of the should have intervened. They can't take $500 million back into Treasury because they knew for sure that this should have been used to build the school that you have just displayed on the screen in Port St. John.
Okay, thank you very much. There's the minimum uniform norms and standards for public schools, infrastructure regulations that were adopted in 2013. The deadline for submission, I think it's what, end of November this year?
No, the deadline for the plan submission was actually at the end of 2014,
okay.
And the department only made those plans public, mid-year of 2015. So it was sort of 6 months late. That is fine, but Limpopo then only made their plans public at the end of last year. The deadline for the eradication of mud schools made out of inappropriate structures, that would be mud schools, asbestos, wood, tin, those schools, the deadline for the eradication of those schools is actually the 29th of November of this year. And providing access to water and sanitation and electricity in schools, also the deadline is the end of this year, 29th of November.
For all the provinces?
Yes, for every province.
Are you going to meet that?
That is not going to happen because the minister has said that will not happen. That will probably only happen 2 years later. We think obviously that is incredibly unfair on the learners, but also unfair for those that fought so hard for the law to be implemented, and obviously a breach of the law. The regulation that we all sort of said that we would adhere by. Okay. And it comes from the minister, that the infrastructure, the implementation plans, and the regulations, they come from the minister. They're the ones that drafted them and adopted, etc. And now they can't meet those deadlines. It's very disappointing.
Clifford, you're also in the Eastern Cape.
Yes, I'm also in the Eastern Cape. Hi there.
How are you?
I'm good for today, thank you. I'm very interested in watching your program.
Thank you very much for watching. What's your view? What's your question?
My question is maybe not only a quick, but yes, it will be. I'm watching and everybody is giving the reasons why not anything is happening. And nobody's saying why things should happen. They all say that they've got the money enough. Some of them say they actually got money enough, but they didn't spend it. They all say as well, the people that I've been listening to, when I say they say, they say they know what the problems are. And nobody has said they are actually going to now do this or do that or whatever. And there's a lot that I could put forward, but I mean, I'm not the politician.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's what I see. There's a lot of talk going on and no action happening at all. And me being Port Elizabeth based, I know what the community in the northern areas have gone through. They've gone on strikes. They've done everything possible to try and get something done, and nothing gets done. Why is this country doing nothing?
Clifford, why is the country doing nothing? Well, I'm sure you have reasons why certain things are not happening. But let's look at solutions. Yeah.
Well, the solution is that, one, you need a permanent HOD, like head of the department in the province. Right now, you have an acting HOD who comes from outside the province, and that's a form of intervention as well. Because you need someone who will come in, understand the issues, and try to address them.
Is that a national department intervention?
Well, it's a government intervention. You see, what you need to do is that you need to be able to bring in officials that are capable, and you need to be able to ensure that that particular official works well with the people that are in the province. You see, everyone talks about intervention. Intervention means that you come in.
Is it approved by the union?
Intervention means that you bring in people who will be able to work with the people that are in the department. It doesn't mean you walk in there and chase everyone out and do everything yourself. You need to make sure that you cooperate with the people that are in that province and try make them see things differently, and try give them a new set of priority to say, if we want to see a change, this is what we need to do. Whether that person is approved by the unions, I don't know what that question is meant to say, because
it's meant to say that you need to recognize the fact that unions have been running the show.
Which show?
The show of education.
Which one?
National department, in the provinces.
I don't know where you get that from, because the department is run by the minister, the department is run by MECs in the provinces, the HODs, and I work there. I've never seen a union running anything, unless you have information that I'm not aware of. As far as I'm concerned, the employer is the department, the employers in the provinces are HODs, and it is those people that make the decisions. If you have information that is contrary to this, perhaps you will make that available to everyone to see.
Elijah, you know very well that we've been running stories here about SATU and the principal's appointment scandals and all that. You surely cannot sit there and say that the unions are not influencing that.
They're not. The report, unfortunately, you're talking about a report that has not yet been published.
Okay, let's leave it there.
The next 2 weeks, the report will be published, and you'll see what the report says.
Let me give you final thoughts.
We have sent in our recommendations to the Division of Revenue Bill, and the first one is that the government needs to go in a costing process, so to find out how much exactly would cost for schools to meet the minimum norms and standards in all the provinces, not just the Eastern Cape, but also administration, management, planning and implementation, very important things. And I think that capacitating the provinces is probably part of the answer, but also stop decreasing the budgets just because, you know, we're underspending. We don't think that's the solution.
Okay, thank you very much. That was Question Time for today. We've run out of time, unfortunately. Have yourself a wonderful time. Goodbye.